It was supposed to be just another routine traffic stop, or so the officer thought. A black man driving through a quiet suburban neighborhood catches the attention of a local cop, whose assumptions are about to lead him into a situation far beyond his control. As the flashing red and blue lights reflect off the car's rearview mirror, tension fills the air. The driver pulls over calmly, knowing exactly what's coming, but what the officer doesn't know is that he's not dealing with an ordinary citizen. This man is an undercover FBI agent. From the moment the officer steps out of his car, his attitude speaks louder than his words. His questions are sharp, his tone condescending, and his mind already made up. But the agent remains cool, collecting every detail, watching how far this will go. The dynamic shifts quickly from a simple stop to a tense confrontation, where the officer's prejudice blinds him to the truth unfolding right before his eyes. As the situation escalates, the officer's frustration grows, and the agent waits for just the right moment to reveal who he really is. But will the officer realize his mistake before it's too late? Stay tuned to see how this shocking encounter unfolds. You won't believe how it ends. The officer, with his hand resting on his holster, leans into the car window, his eyes narrowing as he sizes up the driver. License and registration, he snaps, not even bothering with a greeting. The man, dressed in a plain black t-shirt and jeans, stays calm, reaching slowly for his wallet. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asks, his voice steady but firm. The cop ignores the question, focusing instead on the man's skin color, his car, and his own assumptions. What the officer doesn't see is the badge tucked discreetly inside the wallet, just inches away from the driver's license. The FBI agent knows how these stops can go. He's seen it before, both in the field and in his own life. But today is different. Today, he's not just a bystander to someone else's story. He's living it. The cop glances at the license, barely reading the name before tossing it back. "What are you doing in this neighborhood?" he demands, his tone suggesting the man doesn't belong here. The agent takes a breath, choosing his words carefully. "Just passing through," he replies, keeping his cool, but inside, he's watching, waiting, measuring how far the officer is willing to take this. But the tension's just getting started. The officer's suspicion grows with every passing second. "Step out of the vehicle," he barks, his hand now gripping his holster tighter. The FBI agent hesitates for a moment, knowing this is the critical point where things can spiral out of control. But he follows the command, moving slowly, keeping his hands visible. The officer's eyes dart to the agent's car, scanning for anything he can use as an excuse. "Pop the trunk," the cop orders, as if expecting to find something illegal. The agent, still calm on the outside, knows his rights, but also understands the delicate balance of power in this moment. He debates whether to reveal his badge now or let the officer dig himself deeper. But just as he's about to speak, the situation takes another turn. A second police cruiser pulls up, lights flashing, and another officer steps out. This one looks younger, less aggressive, but just as ready to back up his partner. Meanwhile, across the street, a neighbor peeks through their window, phone in hand, silently recording. The tension in the air is thick. The FBI agent notices the camera, but keeps his focus on the officers. He's seen how quickly situations like this can escalate, and he's weighing every option carefully. But the question remains, how far will this go before the truth comes out? The second officer approaches cautiously, his hand resting on his belt, eyes flicking between his partner and the man standing calmly beside his car. The first officer, still riding on his assumptions, gestures sharply. "We've got a situation here," he mutters to his colleague, loud enough for the agent to hear. The younger cop gives the agent a once-over, noticing how composed he is, how steady his gaze remains. Something feels off, but he doesn't question it. Yet, "Turn around and put your hands on the car," the first officer demands, his voice louder now, trying to assert control. The FBI agent doesn't move immediately. He knows compliance might not guarantee his safety, but resistance could escalate things even faster. Slowly, he places his hands on the cool metal of the car, his heart beating steady, his mind racing. The neighbor's phone is still recording, catching every word, every move. The tension is unbearable, the street eerily silent except for the crackle of the police radio and the occasional passing car. The second officer shifts uncomfortably, sensing something's not right, but he doesn't intervene. Just as the first officer reaches for his cuffs, the agent speaks, his voice calm but firm. "You might want to check that badge in my wallet before you do something you'll regret." The words hang in the air, heavy and loaded, but will they listen? For a split second, there's silence. The first officer freezes, his hand inches from the cuffs, processing what the man just said. His eyes narrow, suspicion turning into disbelief. "Yeah, right," he scoffs, waving off the comment like it's a joke. "Nice try." But the second officer hesitates. Something in the agent's calm demeanor, the quiet confidence in his voice, doesn't sit right. "Maybe we should check," the younger cop suggests, his voice lower, more cautious. But the first officer isn't backing down. His pride and prejudice are too far in. "I don't need to check anything," he snaps, grabbing the agent's wrist to force the cuffs on. That's when it happens. A black SUV screeches to a halt just yards away. The doors swing open, and two men in suits step out, badges flashing in the sunlight. Federal agents. One of them shouts, storming toward the scene. The officers freeze, stunned. The first cop's face goes pale as the reality sinks in. The man he's been harassing isn't just an FBI agent. He's part of an active undercover operation, and they've just compromised it. The agent pulls his arm free, his calm now edged with frustration. But the damage is done. The tension skyrockets as the feds close in, and the officers realize they're in deeper trouble than they ever imagined. The two federal agents reach the scene in seconds, their expressions hard and focused. "Step away from him," one commands, his badge glinting as he glares at the officers. The first cop stumbles back, his confidence shattered, while the younger officer looks like he's just realized the full weight of their mistake. The FBI agent, finally free from the unnecessary confrontation, pulls out his own badge and holds it up. "Special Agent Carter," he says firmly, locking eyes with the first officer. "You just interfered with a federal investigation." The words hit like a punch. The first cop's face drains of color, his bravado gone, replaced by panic. One of the federal agents steps forward, addressing both officers. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You've not only profiled an innocent man, you've jeopardized months of undercover work." The younger cop mutters an apology under his breath, but the first officer stands frozen, realizing his career might be over. Just as the tension seems to break, another car screeches around the corner, a black sedan with tinted windows. It's the very suspect Agent Carter had been tracking. The distraction gave the criminal just enough time to slip away. Now, not only is the investigation compromised, but the suspect is on the loose. The first officer's mistake didn't just cost him his pride, it may have just let a dangerous criminal escape. The sound of the suspect's car disappearing down the street hangs in the air, a harsh reminder of what's just been lost. Agent Carter watches it vanish, his jaw tight with frustration. The federal agents exchange quick glances, already coordinating their next move, but they all know the truth. Valuable time was wasted, and the suspect now has a head start. The first officer stumbles over his words, trying to explain himself, but there's nothing he can say to undo what's been done. His actions didn't just expose his bias, they directly interfered with a federal operation. The younger cop stands quietly, clearly shaken, realizing how close things came to spiraling out of control. Agent Carter turns to both of them, his voice calm but sharp. "This isn't just about me. It's about how you treat people. Next time, your assumptions could cost more than just an investigation. They could cost lives." The words hit harder than any formal reprimand could. As the FBI agents regroup and prepare to chase down the lead, the two officers are left standing there, facing the weight of their actions. The neighbor across the street lowers their phone, capturing the final moments of a story that started as a routine stop but ended as a powerful lesson on prejudice, responsibility, and the consequences of jumping to conclusions.